Welcome to our next episode of the Breakforth Virtual Holy Land Tour. Today we are at the astounding site of Megiddo, or as it's known in the book of Revelation and in way too many disaster movies, Armageddon. Megiddo is not only an archaeological and historical treasure, it's also rich in its spiritual significance from the Old Testament to the end of days. But before we jump into the biblical significance, let's view Megiddo from a historical and archaeological perspective. So what is a tell? Well, it's basically a man-made city built on a hill. Megiddo is like a time capsule with layers upon layers of civilizations stacked one on top of the other, each with its own story to tell. There are as many as 30 layers that have been discovered so far. One city is built, then it's destroyed, and another takes its place, like a giant layer cake of victory and defeat and victory and defeat. So of all the historical archaeological sites, why is Megiddo so significant? Well, it's the only site in Israel mentioned in the records of all ancient Near Eastern powers. Plus, it's been at the center of countless battles over the years. And why is that? Well, Megiddo is positioned at a crossroad, connecting ancient empires, like a giant toll booth controlling the greatest trade route of the ancient world, which crossed the land bridge of Canaan to link the far reaches from Egypt in the south to Mesopotamia in the north. Simply put, if you controlled Megiddo, you controlled all the trade that went through here. This is how far the reach is. In Egypt, Thutmose III recorded his historic battle at Megiddo in 1468 BC. And ever since, throughout recorded history, this valley and this city come up again and again. And Megiddo and the Jezreel Valley below are a place of war. And not just the final battle of Revelation, but a seemingly never-ending place of brutal conflicts. It is said that more than 30 bloody conflicts have been fought here and the adjacent Jezreel Valley in the last 4,000 years. Egyptians, Israelites, Midianites, Amalekites, Philistines, Greeks, Muslims, Crusaders, Mongols, British, Germans, Arabs, Ottomans, Australians, and Israelis have all fought and died here. Throughout history, Megiddo and the valley below have been ground zero for battles that determined the very course of human civilization. Nations triumphed and were defeated all around us. In fact, this is one of the most historic battlegrounds on the entire planet. Many historians believe that more battles have been fought at this location than anywhere else on Earth. And of course, the Bible is filled with passages that reference Megiddo. Joshua, King Solomon, and the ill-fated King Josiah all beheld its walls. And of course, to believers, Megiddo is also known as Armageddon. It's mentioned in the book of Revelation as a site of the start of the ultimate battle. The prophecy in Revelation 16:16 states, "Then they gathered the kings together to the place that in Hebrew is called Armageddon." So that's some background for you on this incredible site. But now let's walk up to Megiddo. And please bring your water bottles and wear a hat. There is not much shade up there. Today, we'll explore this archaeological treasure by visiting the city gates, the ancient pagan cultic worship area, the northern palace, King Ahab's stables, the grain silo, and the ingenious water tunnel. Our first stop is the city gates. In Megiddo, we find traces of two distinct gates, constructed in different periods. The first was during the Canaanite era, and the second during the Israelite reign. Positioned closely together, both gates stand like sentinels at the northern edge of the tell. The Canaanite gate boasts 2 chambers, while the Israelite gate has 6. And at the Israelite gate, each gate was covered by a protective roof and featured 6 chambers with 3 on either side. These gates draw us to the scripture in 1 Kings 9:15, where Solomon is credited with fortifying these cities, including Megiddo, during his reign. Now let's keep walking. And do you still have your water bottle and hat? Because it is baking up here. The Canaanite kings ruled over city-states, each with its own fortress atop these type of hills. In fact, you can see a Canaanite altar and temples on Tel Megiddo, which we're headed to right now. And here we are. For more than 2,000 years, this spot was the heart of pagan worship. From way back in the early Bronze Age to the Iron One periods, when archaeologists from the University of Chicago began digging, they unearthed a whole series of temples stacked on top of each other like pages in an ancient history book. Then, archaeologists from Tel Aviv University stumbled upon another temple and a sacrificial altar that was unlike anything else in the Holy Land. It was massive, and they found heaps of bones scattered around, hinting at some seriously intense rituals. It is believed that this pagan altar at the high place of Megiddo was built around 2700 BC, and this is not long before Abraham arrived in Canaan. As we move forward in time, the Israelites arrive. Rebuilding Megiddo under King Solomon's reign, and although the exact dating of structures is debated by scholars, their grandeur is undeniable. So, let's walk to the northern palace to try to envision that. Here are the remnants of the northern palace, unearthed back in 1960. It's believed by many archaeologists to have once stood proudly at the heart of a sprawling square courtyard, encircled by walls or chambers. Its facade probably basked in the southern sun, while a series of rooms adorned the northern and western perimeters, their floors coated with smooth plaster. Now it's debated whether this palace was from the time of King Solomon or King Ahab, but in any case, you are walking the pages of the Bible right here. Okay, it's time to move to the stables, which is another incredible find that shows how important Megiddo was. Okay, let's go. At Megiddo, archaeologists uncovered 2 sprawling stable complexes, one nestled in the northeast of the mound and the other in the southwest. These findings shed light on Megiddo's pivotal role as either a bustling cavalry hub or a bustling commercial center, or both. Historians attribute the construction of these stables to one of the Israelite kings, possibly Jeroboam II or King Ahab. The number of stables testifies to a robust and a powerful city at the time of their construction, underscoring Megiddo's stature as a chariot powerhouse. And indeed, chariots were the war machines of their day, and that would be similar to modern tanks or fighter jets, highlighting the city's strategic importance. But perhaps as you stand up here in the blazing hot sun, you wonder, what did people eat up here? Well, that's where we'll go to next. Now take a look at this astounding ancient grain silo, dating back to the time of King Jeroboam II in the 8th century BC. This is a colossal structure, reaching 7 meters deep and spanning 11 meters in diameter. One staircase goes down and another circles it, going up, so that there would be no congestion from the workers storing and retrieving the grain. Now that is a great design. This silo had the capacity to house around 1,000 tons of grain, serving as a vital resource for the community. This is perfect for not only providing for the community, but also for staying fed during a military siege. But what did they do for water? Well, that's where we're off to next. Okay, I hope you are not claustrophobic. Imagine this. Besieged within the ancient walls of Megiddo, food stores from the silos sustained the inhabitants. But what about water? Especially under the relentless heat of this tell. Rain is a rare blessing from May to October in this arid region of Israel. So what ingenious solution did ancient engineers devise? Well, they dug deep. They excavated a shaft down to the water table, and then they carved a tunnel along its path to a nearby underground spring. This engineering marvel allowed them to access vital water without exposing themselves to the enemy. Now here is the shaft, and yep, we are about to walk down and through it, so I hope you're not claustrophobic. Remember, we are walking through a tunnel that's thousands of years old, and that is pretty incredible. At the lowest point in the tunnel, they could access water to sustain them through any siege. And at the end of the shaft, there was a wall that stopped intruders from entering, and it kept the water system safe. Okay, I can feel your claustrophobia on my neck, so we're going to emerge from the tunnel. We made it back into the glorious daylight. As hard as the tunnel walk is for some, you have to admit this was pretty ingenious engineering thousands of years ago. Now we began this tour of Tel Megiddo, speaking of the wars throughout the millennia and the final gathering of the great armies of the world to war against God. Yet as we look over Megiddo and the Jezreel Valley, let's not forget that this is not the end of the story. We live with a sense of victory and of great anticipation for the future. I read from Revelation 19. I saw heaven standing open, and there before me was a white horse whose rider is called Faithful and True. With justice he judges and wages war. His eyes are like blazing fire, and on his head are many crowns. He has a name written on him that no one knows but he himself. On his robe and on his thigh he has this name written: King of Kings and Lord of Lords. Thank you for joining us on this virtual tour of Tel Megiddo. Our journey through Tel Megiddo has taken us on a spiritual pilgrimage, connecting the past to the future. It's a place where history and prophecy intersect, where defeat and opposition have bowed to triumph, hope, and ultimate victory. As Christians, we find inspiration in the promise of Christ's return and the hope of a world where peace and righteousness will reign supreme. We look forward to that day described in Revelation 21. Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth. For the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and there was no longer any sea. I saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride beautifully dressed for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, "Look, God's dwelling place is now among the people, and he will dwell with them. They will be his people, and God himself will be with them and be their God. He will wipe away every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death, or mourning, or crying or pain, for the old order of things has passed away. Thank you for joining us on this inspirational tour of Tel Megiddo. Until our next episode, may your own journey of faith be strengthened day by day and moment by moment, and may you look forward to the future with great anticipation and a sense of victory.